recording. Hey Lena, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Kirill?
Very good. So today I'm very excited to have you here in the studio with us, and today we're going to be talking about release of product 718. So the release has happened on May 18th or May 19th. I kind of lost track of time a little bit,
I
but
think May 19th, yeah.
May 19th, right? But every so
Mm-hmm.
often we release the product. And so today is this one of these episodes where we would like to bring you all the new features and we would like to tell you about all the innovation that Creatio has achieved over the last couple of weeks or a couple of months. So in
Mm-hmm.
today's release, our today's release is packed with new features, and here's a list of things. I just want to let you know what we're going to talk about, right? So we're going to talk about new innovation in home pages. We're going to talk about innovation in web services and how much easier they are to build with. And I will take care of this part. And I would like Lena to maybe have you speak about things such as product selection and features of machine learning,
SEO.
such as
Mm-hmm.
next best offer. And I also heard that there is a quite a significant improvement in marketing configuration in terms of emails, in terms of campaigns, in terms of the designer. So it's also quite exciting, and I know quite a lot of people use it. So we also need to talk about it, and I assume you would be able to speak. Okay,
Yeah, I will cover those features while
perfect.
you will talk about home pages and web services.
Perfect. And there's one major feature that has been added to the
Yes.
product, and we are purposely avoiding talking about this particular feature. And the reason for it is because we are preparing a one big episode dedicated to web chats, right? And we're talking about chat channels, things such as WhatsApp chats and Telegram chat and Facebook chat and everything about chat. And so rather than today spoiling the excitement with just a very short presentation, we're just going to simply mention that yes, in the release of 7 and 18, new communication channels such as a WhatsApp chat is now available. However, you're going to have to wait for just one more week until the next episode that will be released at the same time, but the following week, to watch us go through the chat, to watch us go through configuration, configure the queues, and do things like that. So if you're interested in chats, please do come next week. And in the meantime, let's get going. So Lena, who's doing it first? Do you want to go first, or do you want me
I
to go
think you
first?
should go first with the home pages. Well,
Okay,
that's a
perfect.
big thing in the new
Perfect.
release, so I
Okay.
think we should
So
start with that.
let me take it to my screen, and I'll show you around what the new pages are all about, how they're built, and what are the advantages of using them. All right, so welcome to my studio. I just got myself a copy of Creatio version 7.18.0, and I'm going to log in. I've logged in once already, but let's assume this is for the first time. And so the first huge difference that you're seeing in this version compared to the one before is the appearance of what we now call home pages. These home pages will greet you every time you switch sections. So currently I'm in sales, and I can go to marketing and I will have a different homepage for a marketing product, and I will have different homepage going to service and essentially any other product that is available with Creatio. So these homepages, they are meant to be very informative and inform you as the user of things that you consider to be important. So essentially, this is your KPI dashboard. Now, this dashboard is very interactive. It's built with the new technology, and I'll talk about it in just a minute. But it's meant to, in your face, show you all the important factors. This page can be configured. You can have multiple pages, multiple home pages, depending on how you configure it. But essentially, for every workplace, there could be one homepage, and then you can just simply switch between the one that you want to use for workplace in a particular installation. So let's take a look how these home pages get configured, what they can show us. So on the right-hand side, where we once used to go just to a system designer, now you will have an option of either editing a page or opening a system designer. When we edit the page, we will end up in a configuration. And configuration of this page is slightly different to what you may have seen before. The reason for it is because this designer, this layout, is now built with a new tech called Angular. Angular is what we as the company have decided to adopt going forward, and this is how we're going to be building all of our front end, all of our user UI basically interfaces from now on. So on this interface, we can already see what's to come in Creatio in the following versions. On the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of charts. At this point, it's just the charts as an element that can go on the designer. And so you can simply drag it at the bottom, and you can see where this chart appears. So as I take the chart and I drag it over, you could see that the designer kind of shows me where the chart will end up. I can drop it anywhere I want, and I can also grow it. And I can grow it further. And as I grow it, we make sure that nothing overlaps. So when you're designing the page, it's super easy now to make sure that nothing overlaps. Very, very easy to work with. And when I'm ready with my layout, I can go and I can configure the chart. To configure the chart, you can just simply double click into something, or you can just click on this cogwheel. And so you end up in the configuration page for that particular chart. Now, in terms of charts, we've been tweaking things around, and what you will see on the chart that we've added some additional coloring options, we've added some additional tweaks, how the labels are working on the x-axis and the y-axis, etc. But essentially, the old way of configuring charts is still the same, so you're not completely lost. And this page looks very, very similar to what it once was back in the original dashboard design. Now, if I don't want this particular chart, I can simply remove it, and I can reposition my elements back in the way that I would like them to be positioned. So I'm going to drag everything back. If you want to configure an already existing element, same thing, you just simply click on the cogwheel. And from here, you'll see a configuration for our existing chart. Now, in the configurations here, few things have been changed. You may see that the color choices are now greater. You now have 16 color choices to choose from, as opposed to previously we had, I believe, only 5 or 6. You will have a little bit of an addition here in terms of the color. So you've got this option here to choose how to represent the colors, and a couple of minor design configuration options. One of the bigger changes is how this donut chart works. We didn't have the donut chart. We had a pie chart before, and now we have this donut chart, completely interactive. And so as we look around in the design, you can't really see what's happening. But as soon as you go out in the full page view, you'll see that the chart is very interactive. As you move around in the middle, you will have the indicator telling you something about your password recovery, or telling you something about diagnostic. And what they are, these are categories of cases. So we have taken all the cases, we've categorized them, and here we're just simply showing you as you hover over a particular part on this specific category, and then how many cases. So you get the indicator, the percentage, as well as the text representation of this. So let's now take a look at where and how you can configure your home places. So like I mentioned before, we can just click on the wheel here and go to edit page, and inside the edit page there's going to be this little service homepage cogwheel once more. We can click on this and we can specify the title for this page. It supports multilingual strings, so we can translate it into multiple languages, and there is also some code here. If I were to create my own workplace, so let's assume that I want to create my own home workplace, so I'm going to go into a system designer first, and I'm going to go down and find this workplace setup configuration option. In here, if I go and let's say I had my new workplace, let's create a general workplace. And when I do, there's an option for me to choose a homepage to show on this workplace. If the homepage doesn't exist, I can either copy an existing one by choosing this option, or I can just simply click on a plus and say that, let's do a test, and I can just click on the plus, and then I can go and configure my own homepage here. Once you save it, your homepage will appear as part of your workplace. By default, the behavior is such that when we switch a workplace, for example, now I'm going into marketing, and yes, I'd like to leave the page, a marketing workplace will open up. As I go to service, a service workplace will open up. So this is the major difference between what we saw in the previous version of Creatio to what it is now. Now, the designer that you saw with the opening, with the grid and things sliding around, that's also built all with Angular, and this is going to be the foundation for all of our designers going forward. So as we're completing transition from previous JavaScript technology towards Angular, we will be adopting this designer, and so many great things will come from here. Okay, so this was our home page, and now let's go and take a look at an addition of web services. All right, so let's go and take a look at web services. To do that, I'm going to go back to System Designer. And inside System Designer, we can look for web services. They're still here, or we can just simply find it inside a studio. And web services will be right here. Okay. I'm going to create a new web service and immediately see that we have an option of now creating either a SOAP or REST web service. Now, the difference between is how the data is negotiated. So some is in SOAP. We use XML format. In REST, we usually use JSON format. There are other advantages of using SOAP. It is, however, older technology, and it's not as popular these days as a typical REST service. SOAP services are usually used in the banking industry, where the contract is negotiated beforehand just to kind of reduce all the mistakes. But again, like I said, it's not as popular. So we're going to stick with SOAP for now. I'm going to use my example, the one that I like to use, and I'm going to call Bank of Canada. And we're going to go just for sake of example here, for sake of exercise, just simply try to get some service configured here. So I'm going to call it Bank of Canada. And for my website URL, I have to provide the basic string. And this is where my web service will start off with. Okay, so this is going to be the most common string for, or the most common URL for all my following requests. In here, not much has changed. It's exactly the same as we know it. So I can just simply save my service here, and I can go and configure some of my methods. This is where usually people have most of the, where people struggle the most. So in here, rather than giving it a name Bank of Canada, let me call it FX USD just to represent the currency that I'm going to be getting here. Now, what I want to do here is I want to specify a string, or I would like to specify where that request is to be sent. So for that, let me go and take a look at the documentation of Bank of Canada real quick, and I'll copy the rest of the string here. Just bear with me for 1 second, and hopefully I can find it. Okay, there it is. So we're going to ask for certain observations as far as the Bank of Canada is concerned. And so the rest of the string is going to go here. Once I tab out, this string will be married to the one that we passed before. There it is. And what we're seeing here is we're seeing this magic one. So as soon as I click on this magic one, the system will recognize that part of my URL contains some parameters, in this case a start date and an end date. I agree with that, and I just simply save this. Now, the interesting part now is not just how we can send the request, but we also want to parse it. Now, if I want to parse a response, for which I have a special parameter here, I can create everything by hand, or I can provide some various options. For example, I can provide a response example in raw format, in JSON format, in whatever the format you want. But what I would like to draw your attention is to this option, send a test request. So in version 7.18, we've added this button that allows us to send a test request, and all we have to do at this point is we need to have these parameters. So we need to have input parameters. So let's see if we can just simply send this test request. The web service was modified. Would you like to save it? Yes, of course. And so Let's wait up for system to configure itself and offer me to launch a test request. And because we already configured input parameters, it knows that it needs to supply start date and an end date. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 2021-05 and today's date. So we can use only yesterday's date because for today the rates aren't yet posted. So we're just going to ask for rate on 25th. Hopefully it's posted by now. So we're seeing that there is nothing in the response yet. So let's see if we can ask for 24th maybe. And what if I look at raw HTTP? Okay, so in my raw HTTP, I see that again, there are no observations. So I am configuring my request. And if I didn't have this option, I would probably need to use some sort of a postman, or I would need to use something else to test it out. But this way, it's quite easy for me. I can just simply go into my request parameters. Let's just ask for 19th. I'm pretty sure that there is something on 19th or 18th. Okay, so we're asking for JSON again. I'm not seeing any. No, I am seeing, finally, I'm seeing my observations. And so now I know that my web service works, and in the response in raw HTTP, or I can switch to JSON and just look at the body of my response. And so this represents the model that I can use. So I'll just copy this, Control C, and I'm happy with my web service. So I know that the way I'm launching it, the way I'm providing my parameters are correct, and I am getting some data back. Okay, so I'm happy with this response, and I make sure to copy, this content, and now I'm ready to configure the response parameters. Now, if I'm going to provide, if I'm going to use this design, I probably want to use a quick setup. So from the request, we don't need to do anymore as we have already configured it. But from the response, I would like to provide a JSON, the one that I just copied a second ago. So if I come here and I just simply paste the response that I gotten from the service and say next, system will think a little bit and it will offer me options. It will offer me a parsed way of working with the request. And finally, we see that the system was able to parse the response model. I see all the responses that I am getting from my web service. They are automatically parsed. And so I can just simply save this, and I can save this request, and I can save the whole web service configuration. What I need to do now is I just simply need to consume it as part of our business process, but that part has not changed. So this is the addition. So the addition of sending a test request is a fantastic option for us as part of configuration of the services, as we now can configure our service straight here in the browser. We no longer need to use Postman to configure anything, and things are just much, much simpler. Additional option in reference to web services is that now we can provide body of the request. If you are creating very complicated and sophisticated request and you need to manually create it, now we can pass body of the request straight into the web service from inside business process. That's also an additional feature for advanced users that will be a welcomed option as well. All right, Lena, back to you. That's all I had for web services and home pages.
Okay, so let's talk about product selection and next best offer. So this is the functionality that has been added to bank and financing products. And this feature allows you to search through the product catalog, the product selection one, and with the set conditions, and to quickly find the most suitable offers for the customer. And in order to help our salesperson to present the correct and best suited offer in the product selection, we have a couple of ways to filter the information, basically with the product catalog's help, and plus also using parameters, we can search for options that while talking to the customer, looking for offers that match particular parameters. So let's dive into the products section and let's take a look at the product selection first, and then we will move on to next best offer. Okay, product section. Here it is. Here's our traditional catalog. As you can see, it's grouped by category and type. First is category, then type, and you do set it up here, set up product catalog. It will affect the product selection levels as well. Right now we have two filters, category and type, and you can add additional levels if necessary. Now, the product selection is available under Action, Select Product, and it kind of navigates you to a new page, a page where you can see, first of all the product offers. Then you can see how they're grouped by different categories and types. And then you can also filter them by legal entity or contact, basically who you're going to offer these options to. So here's one for legal entity, contact, and so on. So all of these settings, obviously you need to configure your product record to include all the parameters necessary for the filtering to work correctly. So let's take a look at what the manager who handles the customer sees, and then we'll move on and see how we can configure that particular page. So on the left hand side, we have our product selection grouped by category and then by type. And again, right now we only have two levels. You can add more levels if necessary. And when I switch between them, obviously I see different sets of products that correspond to a given category and type. Then when I click on, oh, this one doesn't have anything. So this is a better example. When I click on a particular product or offer, I have some brief information that will help me present this particular offer to the client. And you have the general conditions and the benefits for the customer listed right here. So all of this information is very, very useful when trying to work with the client and present them particular product. This text can be adjusted, and you can provide, this is a text field, so you enter this into the let's take a look into the product page of the particular offer. Okay, if I click on the detail button, I will be navigated to, and it's going to open in a new tab, by the way. So, and I'm going to be taken to the product page, where first of all, as you can see, I can configure whether a product is available for a contact or a legal entity. I can create an image for it or upload a new one. I have some general information. And by the way, only current products will be offered in product selection. So those that are outdated or in development will not be offered during the product selection process. Then in the product selection information tab, you see your short description, your general conditions and benefits. That's where this information is coming from. So again, fill this out accordingly. So when the salesperson works with the customer, they have all the necessary information to work with the customer. In the product details, you have some additional parameters. For example, product features that you can set, conditions, customer parameters. And all of these will be used when we are searching for the offer based on the parameters inside of the product selection. So again, these settings, these parameters are quite important. Make sure they are filled. So when the person looks for somebody for card transaction, wire transfer, online payments, and so on, these options will be taken into account, and products that match those parameters that were selected will be shown. Okay, so let me show you that. Let's click cancel. I think I have my second page. Yeah, so I can go back here. Okay, so if I go into parameters, I can click on the parameters that help me basically find a suitable offer. I think this one is, what do I have? Well, I need a little bit more, obviously, products. Right now, my demo has just a couple of products that have been configured. So, but as you can see, if my product does not match my parameters, it's going to disappear. Let me go back. Maybe, oh, I think I went a little bit too far. I do have in here, in loans, I have a little bit more to work with. So in mortgages. And so, for example, bank employee, again, eliminates one of the options, consumer banking as well. So I can work through these parameters and find the most suitable offer for my customer. Now, based on this product selection, while expanding this functionality, we also developed a new machine learning model that helps to offer next best offer and present those on the contact page or probably account if it's a legal entity, basically on the legal entity page. And those offers that the machine learning model picked as recommended for a particular customer will be listed on their record page. So let's take a closer look at that. So I'm going to go to the contact section, and for Valerie Murphy, I have two next best offers with an 87% probability, which means that's the estimate how likely the person will be interested in this offer. And it tells me that I have two products, and it lists one with the highest probability. So earn 50,000 bonus points worth in treble in debit cards. That's the offer that Valerie is most likely to be interested. So if I click here, again, I'll be taken back to my product selection, but this time specifically for Valerie Murphy, as you can see. And besides my standard catalog, besides my standard categories and types, I also have the next best offers listed above. And here they are with the percentages displayed as well. So this one has an 80% probability, and this one is has 76% probability. If this does not satisfy Valerie, let's say, for example, the model picked incorrectly, or maybe she is really going for something else today. Again, I still have all my other categories and types available here, and if I need to, I can go through the parameters and find a suitable offer for her. Okay, now let's talk about marketing tools. And there are a couple of changes that basically were made in email section and in campaigns that help us to send out emails, whether bulk or trigger. And with campaigns, we have a couple of new elements and filters to talk about. So we're going to start with emails, and then we're going to move on to campaigns. So what I'm going to do next, let's go to the email section and take a closer look at additional parameters that are now available in the email setup. So we have added the following parameters as expiration date, priority, throttling settings, delivery schedule, and basically with delivery schedule, you have the schedule, delivery time, and time zone. So let's go through these parameters. Delivery schedule helps you set up a schedule when the email will be sent. If you're going to leave it like this every day from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., it means that the emails will be sent, whether bulk or trigger emails, will be sent 24/7. If you want to set up a particular schedule that maybe only targets your audience in work hours or maybe off work hours, so we can adjust that schedule. We can eliminate certain dates. Let's go ahead and do that. for example, days of the week, and let's say Sunday and Saturday will not be our days for emails for this particular invitation. This is to a webinar, so we're trying to reach people on their corporate emails, and maybe they're, again, less likely to check them on weekends. So you also have the delivery time range. And what this allows you to do is set up a time zone of when the emails will be sent. So for example, let's say that my audience is in New York, Eastern time zone. So, and my current account is set to London time. So obviously there's a bit of a time difference. It's not great, but still there's some difference in time. And as you can see, right now my bulk emails will be sent from 6 a.m. to 6 or 5:59 a.m. Dublin, Lisbon, London time, adjusting for the time difference, which is going to be 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So this way I do not have to do the mental gymnastics trying to convert all the different time zones, figure out what the time difference is, and so on. I can just list the preferred time zone for this audience. If I know where most of the people are, for example, maybe this webinar is for a particular group that is located in the Eastern time zone. And again, I'll be sending emails only during the hours that I expect them to open them. So for example, let's say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So something like that. 5 p.m. Okay, here it is again. And the little icon will adjust and tell you exactly the time that it's going to be for you. So again, no mental gymnastics in trying to figure out the difference in time. Then throttling settings allows you to warm up your audience. So if you choose to do that, basically you need to either use the general queue or configure additional queues, and it basically will send the emails in smaller batches, basically going through them, kind of raising the quality of your domain, so your emails do not go into spam. So again, this is a setting that allows you to warm up your cold audience and have a higher chance of not getting into the spam folder and for the emails to be treated better. Next, you have expiration date. And basically this allows you to set up a date by which the emails will stop sending. This way you can finish the bulk or trigger emails and stop them from being sent, regardless of their sending status. So, well, obviously if they were sent, they'll just not be sent. Those were already went out, but we can stop any emails that we still have in the queue. And the priority, we have a couple, obviously high, low, and normal. And this allows us to specify which emails have higher priority if we have a lot of emails going out, obviously multiple bulk or trigger emails. And so our mass email providers know which ones to send first, which ones to send a little bit later, and so on. So we can designate a priority per email as well. Now, let's take a look at the campaign and the new features that were added to the campaign. So I've quickly built a very simple campaign, and I want to show you what's now available. Well, one of the things before we go into the campaign designer, this one I haven't started, so let's choose the one that's where we already had some participants. And as you can see, we changed a bit of the design of our statuses. So when the participant reaches one of the steps, we mark them as complete, incomplete, in progress, and so on. So there has been some changes to that. Now, I'm gonna open my campaign that is still in basically in planned mode. I haven't started it yet. And let me show you a couple of changes. Well, probably the biggest one, and I think the one that makes marketers work a little bit easier and saves a lot of time is, well, filtering. Yeah, the saving, you can save element settings and then reuse them in this campaign or in any other. So this way, if you have similar settings for elements, for certain elements and for flows, you don't have to constantly reset them. And obviously our filters can get quite complicated depending on what we're trying to filter out. So having an option like that, having an option to save our settings and then use them later really helps out. So how do we do that? Let's say that here I have the form submitted and I want to execute after a specific time as well. As you can see, I now have this filter and delay displayed on the flow, which again is easy for me to understand whether something was added to the flow or not. And once I do this, I can save, give it a name, registration form, flow, something like that. And later on, let's do another element here. Instead of resetting this, I can select from the lookup. Here it is, and now it's going to apply the same settings to this particular flow. Another thing that has been added, a new element, basically in previous releases, you remember probably we had the add from landing page. Now we also have an element to be used basically in the middle of the campaign for the landing pages. And what it does when we get a registration through that landing page and we can track it, it's going to be filtered based on the responses, that whether the form was provided, the form was submitted, not submitted, and so on. So again, one more element that has been added here as well, in addition to the add from landing page. Another thing, it was not really 7.18 release, it was a little bit earlier, I think 7.17.4. But now we can eliminate duplicates, and you can specify how to apply deduplication, which column to use for deduplication. For example, you can say the contacts with the same email are definitely duplicates, and we can eliminate them as well. And as you can see, for this element, I can save those settings and then reuse them later. Now, one more thing that we have started to track now is the results for responses, basically for emails. As you can see, what results of the thank you email steps that we're interested in, and we have added email replied. So that's another response type that you can track and that you can account for. If your email received a reply, then we can move on to the next step. So not only just delivered, opened, or clicked, but also if we did get an answer. In certain cases, that could be very, very useful. These are the changes that have been added to the campaign and to the email parameters, and they were added in 7.18.
So, Lena, I think this wraps up our release pretty nicely. So at this time, I think it's time for us to thank our audience. I would like to thank you for having accompanied me to do this fantastic release of 7.18, and I'm hoping to see you and some of our audience members in the next session dedicated to messages one more time. I'll take the opportunity to remind and thank
Yeah.
everyone for coming. And I hope to see you guys soon next week. So thank
Yeah,
you
it
very
was great
much.
to do a session together, Kirill. We haven't done one in a while, so
I know. It's been a while. So hopefully we should do more of those.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and hope to see you next week when we're talking about messages.
Hmm.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.